Welcome to 1000 PS. Welcome to a test that's slightly different because this is Honda's new Transalp for 2025. Uprated suspension, different clocks, different headlight, and a few tweaks to the overall design. Now, I've been riding the 2024 Transalp back in Yorkshire for the last 3 months. I've done nearly 2,000 miles, been all the way to Edinburgh, London, and even the Isle of Man. So I can't wait to jump on the 2025 bike and see what the difference is between my bike back in Yorkshire and this bike here in Austria. So we're just wrapping up a few days with Honda's Transalp, which has been updated for 2025. It uses the familiar Hornet-based engine, but what Honda have essentially done for 2025 is played with the suspension, played with the amount of accessories we've got, improved the technology, and kind of given it a little bit of a makeover while it was in over winter. So that familiar two-cylinder, 270D crank Hornet engine remains. So that's 755cc. In this class, it's pushing out 92 horsepower at 9,500 RPM with 75 Newton meters of torque at 72,500 RPM, which is a healthy amount of power for this little parallel twin, and it becomes one of the most powerful bikes in this class. The show suspension has had a kind of revision for 2025. Seat height remains at 850 and quoted weight is 210 kilograms. In the UK, it's coming under at just under £10,000 in this spec, actually without the crash protection. We've had real mixed conditions and real mixed roads to really give the new Transalp a real good run for its money. There wasn't a lot wrong with the previous bike, to be 100% honest. What it just needed was a few tweaks in terms of suspension, and that's what Honda have done. They've not rewritten the rulebook and not gone drastic. They've just made it a little bit more sporty, give it a little bit more composure, and just made it a little bit more lively. Previously, the forks would blow through the stroke quite a lot when you used the brakes, and the rear was exceptionally soft. Especially when you fitted a top box or a pillion, you really needed a little bit of extra support on the rear because it felt like it was extremely comfortable, but it was almost too comfortable and too wallowy. Great on the motorway when you just wanted to sit there and just enjoy the comfort. But when it came to the twisters that we've had here today, the old bike was just too soft. Now there's a real drastic change. It's not a little tweak, it's a significant step in the suspension between the 24 and the 25 bike. It doesn't make the 25 bike a raced-focused supermoto from Honda. Very much no way. It's still plush and compliant and comfortable, but it's way sportier than it ever was. There's way more control from the suspension, which gives you the confidence to push a little bit more. Eventually, the pegs will start to tickle the tarmac, but you've got to be pushing on and kind of riding the bike outside its design parameter to do so. I was really surprised how well the Transalp handles compared to the old bike. It's much more sporty, it's much more fun, it's much more enjoyable to ride. The second big improvement for me is the switchgear and the dash. The old clocks were reasonably informative and the switchgear was reasonably okay. It wasn't intuitive, it wasn't immediately apparent what you were doing, and the new interface, the new switchgear, the new clocks, the way you can change the rider modes, the whole visual effect of the new clocks is on par with some of the other Hondas and really improved. It's much easier to change between the modes. I've got lots of modes to play with. I can turn the power up, I can turn the power down, I can turn the traction off, I can turn it on again. And it's much more intuitive. I wouldn't say it's brilliant like some clocks on some models, but it's 8, 9 out of 10 where the old bike was 6 or 7 out of 10 when it came to clocks and switchgear. When you change between the modes, it does change the amount of rider aids and it does change the power. When you go into the softer power modes, it becomes exceptionally soft. And when you go into the sporty mode, there's more of a bark and more of a kick. It's only just over 90 horsepower, but there's quite enough power and quite enough bark and quite enough torque to have a spirited ride. And equally, you don't need to cog back to 4th or 3rd for a quick overtake. 4th and 5th is more than acceptable. There's lots of mid-range drive, and around town the fueling is also excellent. It's interesting because Honda made an exceptionally good Transalp that was forgiving, easy to ride, soft, manageable, great around town, lovely for commuting, would bounce over potholes, would jump over speed humps, would do everything you kind of wanted it to do as an accessible, easy to ride bike. But when it came to the sporty aspect, that's where it fell short. But now it doesn't. Now it feels more sporty. Now it feels more lively. Now it's got a little bit more appeal, a little bit more soul, a little bit more character, a little bit more enjoyment. We've not lost any of that comfort. I guess there's a little bit of comfort has gone because it's not as plush. But for me, I'd much rather have the new, sportier, more refined, clearer and easier to use Transalp than the previous one. The only question for me is, I'm still unsure about the headlight, whether it's a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but everything else about the bike is a massive thumbs up. Honda, on paper, have only tweaked the Transalp, but when it comes to riding it, it's a significant step. It's been a bit of a different test, jumping from Yorkshire to Austria, from winter to spring. But it's been an interesting to see and compare the 24 model to the 25 model. If you want to know any more technical details or specifics, then please fire some questions below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.